From the Gert Boyle studio, it's OPB Politics Now for Friday, January 24th. Donald Trump was sworn in as the 47th president on Monday. And he said, quote, "The golden age of America begins right now." Leading up to the inauguration, OPB reporters took some time to understand how Oregonians voted, how they're feeling, and how the new administration could affect Pacific Northwest communities. We'll discuss what they heard and what they learned. Welcome to the podcast. I'm OPB Politics reporter Lauren Dake.
I'm Central Oregon Bureau Chief Emily Curitin-Cook.
I'm Alejandro Figueroa. I'm the Food and Agriculture reporter.
And I'm OPB Business reporter Kyra Buckley.
Emily, let's start with you. You live and work in one of the state's fastest growing regions, Central Oregon. It's a place that has changed a lot. It is changing a lot. And you spoke to a lot of people across the region about the new administration. What struck you about those conversations?
We found some common ground, but also a lot of really stark divides in how people are feeling right now. For example, on the Warm Springs Reservation in Central Oregon, some were welcoming President Donald Trump's inauguration with an open mind. 21-year-old Jordan Mitchell was at the Warm Springs General Store when he told us he used to really dislike the president, but his views shifted for the better after Trump's first administration.
I think what he said, he actually did implement, and he's just... It is for real. I feel like a lot of the most negative stuff was put out more than the good things he actually did do. But, you know, people see what they see, and they don't like digging in too deep on a lot of things. They just like seeing the main headline and don't look any further.
Mitchell says he's going to wait and see how it all pans out. But making their way out of that same general store on that same frigid January morning, 37-year-old Kalita Macy carried much heavier feelings about the president's second tenure and his hardline immigration rhetoric.
I have many concerns, with the deportation stuff that he's going to be doing. I have a lot of friends and, friends that have become family that, don't have papers and are paying taxes and are doing what they need to do to become citizens, and a lot of their families in danger.
Macy told us she's focused on helping people she knows and not giving up.
The next 4 years are going to be a crazy ride, but, doing my best to move forward and to continue to use my voice.
So Macy and Mitchell, both from Warm Springs, are just a couple of the many people who showed us that as folks are figuring out what this administration is going to mean for their own lives, they're also navigating some pretty tense relationships with their own friends, family, and neighbors. It also bears mentioning that many of the people we spoke to expressed a mix of anger, frustration, and fear, also hopelessness about what the next 4 years will bring.
The majority of voters in Oregon and Washington did not vote for Trump, but obviously many did, and some of them did so with enthusiasm and without conflict. Were there any really clear motivating reasons why people you spoke with voted for Trump?
There is this whole contingent of supporters we talked to who say they think Trump will do what he says he's going to do, and they are here for it.
My name is Kim McClure, and I live in Culver, Oregon. I believe that he is for America, and he really wants to do a good job for us.
My name is Mark. I live in Powell Butte, Oregon. I'm 75 years old. I'm thrilled because we need some changes in this country. If we don't get changes and things straightened out, we're going to have more problems down the road.
I'm Wayne. I'm 81 years old, and I live north and west of Redmond. I think about getting control of the borders and maybe helping with the price controls. Not that we need controls, what we need is just stabilization.
So issues like immigration, the economy, and for many folks, the protection of Social Security and Medicare benefits were top of mind as major reasons for their support. And a lot of these people also just viewed Trump as an agent of change, a change that they support.
And then there were some people who told you they felt like the president holds some extreme political views, but they still voted for him with mixed emotions. What prompted those people to vote for Trump?
The economy was something we heard about over and over from people who, like Joe Anderson of Redmond, said they held their nose when they voted for the president.
I think sometimes Trump says things that he knows are not true because he's jockeying for position. I think Trump's personal morals are horrible, and I hate it that we have someone leading our nation like that. I think he has some good economic ideas, but that's as far as it goes.
Another one of the top issues people talked about in Central Oregon and the rest of the state and nationally was, not surprisingly, immigration. Alejandro, on the other side of the Cascade Mountains, you visited Woodburn, where some people are feeling some anxiety about how the next 4 years are going to play out. And that isn't really surprising because during the first Trump administration, Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents targeted that city. Remind us of what went down and who you talked to when you visited.
Right. So I think the first thing to explain is that Woodburn has been a Latino Hispanic community for decades, going back to at least the 1940s when a lot of workers came here through government-sponsored farm labor contracts. As of today, almost 2/3 of the city's residents identify as Latino. It's probably one of the most diverse cities in Oregon. And people from Mexico and other Central American countries still come to Woodburn today to live and work. And this city is no stranger to immigration detentions. In 2017, that was just 1 month after Trump took office, 2 buses of farm workers heading to harvest flowers were stopped near Woodburn as part of an ICE targeted enforcement operation. And 11 people were detained. 7 were taken to an immigration detention center in Tacoma, Washington. I have a cut here from Reina Lopez. She briefly explains what that was like. She's the executive director of PECUN. That's one of Oregon's largest farm worker advocacy groups.
That sent a chilling effect in our community. After that happened, people were not showing up to work. Children were not showing up to school. And people were afraid.
And Lopez told me the general sentiment now is similar to that of the first Trump administration. And people, in many ways, are feeling that fear, anxiety, and confusion over everything that's happening.
One person you spoke with had a really compelling story. Can you tell us about Luis Lamas?
Yeah, Luis Lamas is one of the owners of Café La Onda. That's a small coffee stall inside the Metropolis Marketplace in downtown Woodburn. I met him during one of my visits in Woodburn. He's super approachable and super genuine. And I noticed when he talked to everyone, he would just talk about everything that they're feeling, things that are happening in their lives. And we talked about that. And during one of our conversations, he said that he feels almost like a therapist sometimes when he talks to people about everything that's going on and how they're feeling about this whole threat of mass deportations and ICE showing up. Here's a cut of him talking about what a woman told him recently. And just a heads up, he talks in Spanish. I'll just translate afterwards.
Me dice, no, Luis, yo ya viví aquí, o sea, ya son 20 años aquí. Ya lo que hice, lo hice. Ya lo que tenga que vender, lo vendo y me regreso a mi casa. Dice, ya hice yo algo a México. Si sigo aquí es por mis hijos. Es lo único que más me preocupa. Son mis hijos, yo no.
So in that cut, he's talking with a woman, and that woman told him, I already lived here for 20 years. If I have to sell anything, I'll sell it and just go back to Mexico. But if anything, the one thing that's keeping me here and the one thing that I'm really worried about is my kids. And he told me other people that he talks to just sometimes don't even know what's happening, and others don't think about it. But he says that in those conversations, there's this looming fear and sometimes this sort of sense of resignation, kind of similar to what that woman was explaining.
Oregon's sanctuary law prohibits local and state police from asking about a person's immigration status or sharing that information with federal immigration officials. You talked to city officials in Woodburn, including law enforcement officials, who said they plan to follow the state's law. And some of them told you, they have spent years building trust with people who live in Woodburn and who are undocumented, and they don't have plans to share information with ICE officials.
Yeah, I did. I had an opportunity to talk with Woodburn's city administrator and the acting chief of police, Jason Milliken. They said plainly they have no desire to work with or share any information with federal enforcement authorities. Here's a cut from Milliken.
It's understandable that people do have a fear. We understand that. But our message is to please not fear local law enforcement. We cannot have people who are victims of crimes afraid to call the police.
His office has already met with groups like Pekun and other immigrant rights groups. He says they've worked hard to build trust with people. Some of them are undocumented, and he doesn't take that relationship for granted.
Kyra, let's bring you into this conversation. Another promise the president made on the campaign trail was calling for blanket tariffs on U.S. trading partners. Economists have said that could raise prices, and you talked to a lot of Oregonians who certainly feel that that is the case.
I did. And, I also talked with business owners who said they've seen an uptick in sales since the election. I specifically was hearing about e-bikes along with a lot of other imported goods, but I decided to visit the e-bike store. That's the name of it, the e-bike store. It's in North Portland, and I spoke with owner Wakefield Greg. He told me sales are up 25% over his original forecast.
November hit and boom. And so causation, as we know, is really difficult to say definitively. But I really believe people are being driven by the possible tariffs coming down the pipe.
Basically, all e-bikes have components that are manufactured overseas, and the majority of electric bikes are manufactured in China.
And that's important because tariffs are taxes on imports. Lots of consumer goods are imported, like e-bikes, but also cell phones, major home appliances, cars. Any idea how other prices could be impacted?
So the trade experts that I spoke to say it's hard to know exactly how prices or what items prices will go up on. But overall, prices could go up 20 to 40% across the board. I heard from Oregonians who decided to upgrade their cell phones, tablets, cars, bikes, or major home appliances before these potential tariffs could push up the prices on those things. But price changes overall are going to depend on which of the president's tariff proposals make it over the finish line. He's floated different ideas, but on multiple occasions, he's talked about blanket tariffs on imports. That's going to hit virtually everything. We have a global economy, and U.S. manufacturers need to import parts from other countries. So that's why economists say it could mean prices on most things will go up.
Is there a chance that Oregon gets hit harder than maybe other states just because of what we tend to import as a state?
That's a good question. Oregon does import a lot of the same things as other states: furniture, cars, clothes, and electronics. We also, though, import a lot of fuel and fertilizer, and that helps our industries like agriculture, which exports to the world. And here's why that's important. Oregon is a major exporter in for Oregon, we export a lot of goods, I should say. For our economy, we export a lot of goods. We exported $25 billion worth of goods to global trading partners in 2023. And economists say that tariffs often provoke retaliation. So our global trading partners, other countries, it's going to strain the relationship that Oregon exporters have with their trading partners. And that could just snowball and continue to create tenser relationships in the global economy. So basically, businesses, economists, and the consumers that I talked to, they all told me they're gearing up for the economy to be pretty chaotic for the foreseeable future.
Oh, great. Well, let's leave the conversation here for today. Thank you all for joining me. This week's episode was produced by Andrew Thien. Our audio engineer is Nalene Silva. Our music comes from Audio Network. We highlighted just a few of OPB's stories on the Trump administration in Oregon. For all of our stories, head to opb.org. And we would love to hear more questions from you. So if you want to know something about Oregon and Southwest Washington politics, shoot us a line at OPB Politics Now at opb.org. We'll be back next week with more political news from across the Pacific Northwest. Until then, you can find all of OPB's reporting at opb.org. Thank you for your support, and thank you for listening.